Well, it's the holiday season at the Jacksonville Symphony, but it is also a season for reflecting on the past year and planning for the next. So, here to discuss both is Jacksonville Symphony Music Director Courtney Lewis. Good morning, Courtney.
Good morning. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you as well. So, this was the 75th anniversary year of the symphony. How do you think it went?
Well, we're right in the middle of it right now. We just began in September, and we've been celebrating the history of our great orchestra with a season quite unlike any other. We've really upped the ante, and to use a musical metaphor, pulled out all the stops with our guest artists and our programming this year. And we've seen a tremendous success with wonderful ticket sales and a real sense of achievement of the orchestra having been around this long and working at the caliber that it does. It's very exciting and rewarding. And for me also, as my 10th season, it's a bit of an anniversary as well. And I'm able to look back on a decade of really satisfying work of bringing the orchestra to more diverse audiences in Jacksonville and a greater number of people of our city, in our
Yeah.
city.
I mean, of course, I guess I should realize that you don't adhere to a calendar year. So, your season kicked off basically in September.
Yeah, we're like school years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And you started with this magnificent Mahler
hmm
symphony that you presented.
We did the Second Symphony, Resurrection, as a opening celebration with wonderful soloists. This is the piece that was on the movie about Leonard Bernstein that you might have seen.
Yes,
And
yes.
that same mezzo soprano, Isabel Leonard, who sang in that movie, was one of our soloists, along with Eileen Perez, the wonderful soprano. So yeah, we kicked off with that, and then it's been a great year in terms of many new commissions for the symphony. One of the things that we believe in very strongly is that the art form has to be alive, and that we have to commission composers of today, of all sorts of different backgrounds, so that there's a variety of music, so that audiences can come and see people who look and sound like them on stage and hear that music. And I'm particularly looking forward to closing our season with a piece by the great African American composer Carlos Simon entitled Zodiac, which he's written especially for us. So that score is arriving in a few weeks, and very much looking forward to that at the end of the year.
And that's the world premiere, right, in June
Yes.
6th and 7th of
hmm
this. But you're also having a premiere by Conrad Tao, who's a pianist, an
That's right.
extraordinary pianist who's been on this program with you before.
Yes.
Um, and
He's our
that's in April?
That's in April, that's right. He's our artist in residence this year. And as well as performing with the symphony several times as a soloist, he's also writing us a brand new piano concerto himself, which will premiere on April 4th and 5th with The Rite of Spring by Stravinsky, one of the most controversial and famous pieces of the 20th century. So, really can't wait for that. Literally can't wait for it because it's in April and I haven't got the score yet. So, we're
Oh,
pushing hard for that should be in the mailbox pretty soon.
yeah, there's a little pressure there, I
Yep.
guess, to get that underway. And there's also a great performance when you were talking about getting other voices in and other there's kind of a push to try to get some women composers more
hmm
involved, and there was a world premiere this fall with Brittany Green.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she wrote a piece called Testify, which was a reflection on her youth in Baptist gospel churches and her mother who played the tambourine. And it was a piece based on tambourine solos and gospel music, but seen through a kind of Western classical lens that she grew up with. So that was wonderful. It was a really exciting opening to the concert. And there's something very special about having the composer in the hall the first time a piece is ever heard. I mean, at the first rehearsal of that piece, that was literally the first time that those sounds had been heard in history in that piece, and that's something that's very exciting to be part of. And then to be able to go and say, "What do you think?" Because you can't call Beethoven up and say, "What do you think of our performance?" So it's really nice to be able to have her sitting there and be able to give feedback in real time.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought of that. You, of course, are smack dab in the middle of your busiest season,
hmm
right? The
Yep.
holiday season. And there's all kinds of things that this is a point where a lot of people touch the symphony for
hmm
the first or only time sometimes in a year.
Yeah.
Because it really is a community engagement.
Yes. So two of our biggest concerts are on at the moment. First of all, the First Coast Nutcracker, which is the only Nutcracker in town that contains a live orchestra, is on at the moment. So you can still get tickets for that. And also this weekend, Handel's Messiah, one of the people's favorite things to listen to at Christmas, the great story of the birth and passion of Christ as told by Handel in the 18th century. So those two programs are on right now, and some tickets are still available.
Yeah. And people really do love those. So, in addition to some of the performances, you've also been celebrating some like upgrades that are coming to the actual facility at
Mhm,
Jacoby Hall. So,
mhm.
what, tell us about that a little bit.
Well, the hall is now 25 years old, and it's a fantastic acoustical space. One of the reasons why I wanted to come and work here was that one of the few orchestras in the country, the only one in Florida, that has its own concert hall where all the offices are, all the rehearsals are.
Hmm.
And that means as a conductor that you can really work on the style and sound of the orchestra because you're in the space where the concerts take place for every rehearsal. So we're very lucky to have such a great space. Um, But like any building, it needs some work. It needs new seats. It needs better patron access, that kind of thing. So a lot of that is part of what we're working for at the moment.
Yeah, and so that is, possibly gonna be enabled by some donations. What inspires the orchestra's long-term plans? I mean, beyond just this season and the goals and the
Mhm.
schedule.
Well, one of the very important things for orchestras today is having a plan for sustainability. Orchestras are expensive. When you put on a exhibition at an art museum, for example, it just sits there for a couple of weeks. They're inanimate objects, and people come and see it, and in comes the money. But every concert requires 80 people who are all paid with staff, and they're all the best, the top of their field. And it needs those people to make the music speak every time. So it's an expensive art form. But we're extremely lucky in Jacksonville, and one of the reasons why I'm still here is that the community is so supportive, and we just, you might have noticed, had a $5 million gift from the Preston Haskell Foundation.
Yeah.
Um, those kind of things ensure that the Jacksonville Symphony will be around for the next 75 years, and that's wonderful to see.
Well, Courtney Lewis, we love talking to you. Thanks so much for being here today.
My pleasure.